What up, though? Welcome to my channel, Sequential Geek. Appreciate you swinging by. Just want to try something different. A little bit of a faster pace haul. So let's get on with the haul, y'all. Shall we? Out of 2015. Yeah, you like that? DMC numero uno, number 1, king size special edition. Daryl makes comics. In particular, it is important to note that this graffiti style writing is actually by the artist out of New York City from the early 80s, Mayor 139. I think that is originally Nightmare from 139th Street, and shortened it to Mayor 139. It's quicker to do on the side of a car, so. And Forbidden Planet signed by DMC. Pretty dope. So originally it was printed in 2015. Sal Buscema with Bob Weissek inks on that cover. Story by Daryl McDaniels. Word. Dope purchase number 1. Dope purchase number dose. I had showed this off as a CGC, but it was CBCS 9.8. My CGC 9.8 didn't include the stamp, so I don't know what's up with that. If CGC removes the stamp, or they still just decide to give it a 9.8. So I got a CBCS 9.8. Action Comics reprint, originally out of June 1938, written by Jerry Siegel, art by Joe Shuster, Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I was born. And this is the reprint that came out while I think the post office was celebrating its centennial, at least in Ohio. Got here, Cleveland, Ohio stamp, first day issue, September 1998. United States Post Office. Pretty cool. And this was, I think altogether it was like $168. So I like Action Comics reprints. Psyched. It's still got the whatever, this flap here containing the actual stamp, which I thought was really fucking cool. Artwork by Mr. Joe Shuster. There's your back. Alright, so it's going to be a back issue haul. A lot of Copper Age comics. You know me. This first stack of books right here is going to be some 80s and 90s books, I think. And stuff from last Wednesday. I went in to get some new comics. So first up, straight out of the Copper Age. This is a comic book that I love for like 3 main reasons. First of all, it's issue 277. So if you want to be like a John Byrne collector, and John Byrne does the writing, the covers, penciling, the interiors, and the inks from 232 up until like the mid 270s, maybe 273, 274. And then you got Jerry Ordway. And Jerry Ordway and I think like what, Dan Green and bunch of other people were alternating doing the interior inks. Probably Terry Austin too, sure. So Jerry Ordway's doing the inks, but one of the reasons I dig this comic book as a just sequential storytelling is we've got a story that's divided up laterally. Laterally, we have this story divided up. As you can see, we have the thing on the top row, the top half of the comic. So you have the second half of the comic from a story that started in issue 276, where, you know, Reed and Sue, they're like in their disguise in the suburb, and one of the neighbors figured something was weird with them and thought that the house or those people needed an exorcism, and they ended up all unconscious. And then everything takes place again now in issue 277, and Doctor Strange. That's just it. Like I mentioned before, you've got Avengers Under Siege, right? That Roger Stern, John Buscema story. And when the Black Knight was held captive, of course, Dr. Druid had a vision of him in trouble. When the shit hits the fan, like I was saying, somebody's going to have a vision. Someone's going to have like either magic or some type of psychic connection, some dream. Something's going to happen where they're going to be able to help our heroes in need when we think all is lost. So Doctor Strange, in this particular instance, has a vision and can tell that they're now banished to this netherworld, right? Mephisto's world, supposedly like hell, this version of hell. So that's the bottom half, because Mephisto wants Franklin. This is a Franklin Richards story on the bottom half. The top half, you know, like, what, in issue 265, She-Hulk joined, and then the Thing decided to stay behind. 265, when that issue came out in 1984, that was like the second or third issue of Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. So you got to see the Thing was no longer with the Fantastic Four. You didn't know why. And to find out why, you had to read the 12 issues of Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. And while those 12 issues were going on, you got 12 issues of Fantastic Four with She-Hulk starting as a team member. So the Thing returns, though, now. And in this top half, the story's divided laterally. It's one of the reasons why I dig this. He finds out that Johnny Storm is dating Alicia. And it turns out, I think retroactively, they changed the story that Alicia was a Skrull in this. And you find out in the 90s, it's a Peter David story. Anyway, so now the story's divided laterally. It's really cool. You got these two stories. There's a She-Hulk, her and Wyatt Wingfoot. I think when the Thing returns by the end of this, she realizes that her days on this team are numbered. Whatever. Second half of the story, it's really cool. Doctor Strange is in this netherworld, helping him out. And Franklin Richards, he just ain't having it. Yeah, check it. And then another reason why I dig this, you've got the different form of sequential storytelling. Things are laterally divided. Story by John Byrne, which is great. And then you've got how after Franklin Richards destroys Mephisto, banishes him, it has been assumed that the shards that are left over, some of them at least, are used by Wanda to create her children, Speed and Wiccan. That's right. Marvel's beautiful Scarlet Witch decided that she would get some crystals and Speed. All right, so that's that. Pretty decent copy that I'm banging up for your reviewing pleasure. That was out of April 1985. Wolverine Saga. This ran for 4 issues. Same vein as Marvel Saga. This is a retelling, a synopsis of the history of Wolverine. And check it, this came out September 1989 cover date. Rob Liefeld cover. Ooh. I thought this was cool because it's a nice slick black border from the late 80s as a newsstand. That's why I got it. I figured it was a little extra perks as far as possibly one day being able to resell this to break even. Paid $5 for this. It's got the Liefeld bait right there for your modern day collector. Another Wolverine goodness. First time Wolverine the Punisher meet. This is a retelling of Punisher War Journal, issues 6 and 7 that were originally printed in June and July of 1989. This is Punisher and Wolverine in Africa Saga, March 1990. Art by Jim Lee. Carl Potts doing the layouts for his artwork as well as the script. Nice reprint out of March 1990. It says, purely a swastika by, I know that. It's banned in certain countries and just the whole collectability of it. I don't really seek out swastika covers. I know that there's some really crazy one, a Swamp Thing one, but just offhand, I saw this one, $5. Wow. Wow. I'm really pushing myself going there more often than not with these $5 buys of books that really should be $1. But it's nice condition of a newsstand, and the stores in the Denver area are very privy to the whole collector's market and checking out videos and so forth. So this got marked up to $5. Well, as a collector, it's fun. This is Microchip's father had built some particle beam during World War II, and now these new resurgence of Nazis are trying to use it in modern day, and the Punisher's going to bring them down. Punisher issue 46, March 1991. Und noch eine andere Swastika. Project Saucer. Luftwaffe 1946 Technical Manual. This art is done by Ted Nomura. It's a Ted Nomura cover. We've got some interesting technical diagrams in there. It's really hard to find this in nice condition. I have another one of these manuals I've shown off before. So if you see technical manual, they've got different subjects that they emphasize on. So keep an eye out down below. I thought that was really cool. There's also some articles in here that discuss the real-life Foo Fighter sightings over German airspace. And some really great Ted Nomura artwork of the Roto-Wing concept designs. Just look at that flat design. Makes me wonder if they'll be able to last in higher altitudes or skipping across the air currents. I don't know. Very cool design though. Sam Keith. Now this particular issue of Marvel Comics Presents, be aware that when you see a Sam Keith cover, not all the time, like the later issues, he only does one side. So in this particular issue, he does do both sides. And let's check out the other side. This is a really cool Sam Keith newsstand from 1992, August. This anthology rocks. When you see that CC, think of Curtis Company. That means if you don't see the barcode on this side, then you're gonna probably see it on the other side. I said, there you go. You know, the white was, it was all right. This is what I originally saw. Decided just to get it. I like that combo. The Elf, Wolverine, right there. It's pretty dope. But then these later issues, he only does this one side. Marvel Comics Presents issue 110 and issue 111. August 1992, right? Yeah, let's see. The other side of this is by Steve Lytle. All right, that is what that is. Typhoid Mary. Really just got it for the Sam Keith. It's just curious. Fine, I'll show the other one. Going that far. All right. Same artist for both sides. Really digging the Sam Keith artwork, gotta say, overall. Sam Keith, he started working on Marvel Comics Presents right after the Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X stories. That would be issues 85 through 92. Yup. Basically, I got turned on to Sam Keith by checking out these channels and my playlists. I'm telling you, you got to be checking out my playlists. Sequential collector hauls and tips, I believe, is one that's usually near the top of my site. These cats stop by their channel, say hi. You will get back what you put into it. If you're looking to meet some new channels, make some new acquaintances online, broaden your horizons. This is Wolverine Blood Hungry. This is the first printing out of 1993, I believe. Collects 1991's Marvel Comics Presents 85 through 92. That's right, Peter David's story. Sam Keith doing the art. Just got it for the condition. If this was banged up, I mean, maybe I would have still gotten it because it would have been a cheaper price. Like I said, they're very privy here. It's like $9, really? Nice spine, though. That right there. See how that moved? Show off the condition. Nice. So, oh yeah. Red with Rage. One more that I thought was really cool, Marvel Comics Presents cover. Just happened upon it. Turns out, though, when I looked it up, this is 2-issue story arc with these dark covers for issues 143 and 144. It's part of the anthology here. And that cover is by Colin McNeil. Both covers, both sides. December 1993. Siege of Darkness. So, hopefully there's not too much of a glare here. Get some justice to this artwork. Check out the other side. Scarlet Witch. That's pretty cool. Now this comic I had been looking for, believe it or not, since the second time I was collecting comics. That second phase, that new Marvel era, just brought me right in. And then as soon as it ended around 2004, 2005, I stopped, but I really started geeking out on variants and shit even back then. And not into variants now, but not really all that much. It's cool though. Some of those variants are definitely worth buying. Point is, finally found it. What is the deal with this? Does anybody know yet? This isn't quite a newsstand, right? This isn't a newsstand. This is Ultimate X-Men number 7, right? Originally printed in August 2001 by Mark Millar, Adam Kubert. This was kind of a weak X-Men story when it came out. The cool thing about the Ultimate line was that it was originally supposed to be a 21st century interpretation of the X-Men. The Ultimates was a 21st century interpretation of the Avengers, and they were really successful at it. And then things just started turning into gimmicks, you know, the same old fucking story. They are not necessarily just gimmicks, but they were just straying too far off the, let's make a modern version of these stories that occurred, you know, 40, 50 years ago. So anyway, really cool Adam Kubert design though, right, of Nightcrawler. I can totally dig it. Now, look at the UPC. I don't know if you can see it, but it says on the right, 90048. Since around like 2005, I think I read in like a Wizard magazine or something, this is the Campbell's Soup variant. Who gives a fuck? But at the time I did. And then when I saw this, I laughed. Yeah, it's $1, right? So I'm getting into now the next set of books. This is a set of Dollah books. Dollah Hollah. Let's do it. This one I got just for, I dig like the array of the purples. Total reader copy. Fucking already read it. I decided to stick it back in the book. Decent condition, whatever. Hey, Barry Windsor Smith, he wrote and drew this. And it's like pretty basic story. It's all right. This guy's got these jewels around his neck. You know, you've got, he needs this type of blade. Once he gets the blade with the jewels, this like vampire dude's like unstoppable. The MacGuffins galore. It's all good. And this guy's like prime time because he's getting his ass kicked. He's a skinny dude here. Fucking weakling. He's just getting his butt kicked. And then now he's like prime time. And now this woman, she is what? I thought there was like an... She's this woman, Necromantra, Ultraverse from Malibu Hero. And this guy, he ended up reverting back to his human form, but, you know, they end up defeating this guy Pretty cool artwork by Barry and Windsor Smith. The story was basic. It was fun. You know, she is really like the badass one of the group. And she ends up getting the sword. And then she cuts the necklace off the guy's neck. And he loses his power. So now they can defeat him. They got the jewels away from him. Oh, she breaks one of the jewels. That's it. She smashes it. And there's my review of a cheap 90s comic with this cool fire and like sunset colors. Cool. Sunset, sunrise. This dollar book, and the rest of these books are about to be some bad bitches. I saw this and I just thought, kind of like a Steranko-esque, with these people hooking up there, and then you have this really beautiful woman, right? The nice figure right there. A nice little beautiful derriere. The eyes. Then I realized, hey, that's like a religious symbol with that Star of David. And I'm like, wait, damn, look how those bullets going. But plus it's like, you know, this book, John Sable, Freelance, May 1985. It ran for a total of 56 issues. And it just reminded me of how, you know, it just looks like it's from the 80s, the theme, everything about it. And then another cool thing to note with John Sable is that Gene Simmons of Kiss wanted to have this become a television show around the early 80s. He was involved with maybe optioning this. I don't know how far Gene Simmons was into owning the rights to John Sable, but he was behind producing a television show. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, let's get into some of these badass bitches from the Dollah Hollas. Vanity. Let's look at that artwork. And fantastic. From August 1984, the story and art are by Will Mognion. M-E-U-G N-I-O-T. Any of you Canucks or frogs know how to pronounce that? Let me know. Awesome heavy metal-esque style right here. Very dope cover. PC Comics, Pacific Comics. The Shaynas brothers. Not sure if it's pronounced Shanes or Shaynas. A couple guys, 13, 14 years old in the early 70s, started their own zine. And then by like the late 70s, definitely by 1980, they ended up with their own comic book publishing company. Lasted for a minute throughout the 80s. All right, a little bit of a rant here for you. Think about it like this. This is my point about the current state of comic book collecting. Let me know if I'm going a little bit too extreme right here. But in my opinion, you know, this typical Dollah Halafada, right? This is your $1 book for days. First comics. Think about it. Steve Grant wrote these stories. Steve Grant. First thing that comes to mind for me is the 4-issue limited series from The Punisher that turned into that 5th issue. And Steve Grant, known for The Punisher for me. Artist. Never heard of him. Not offhand. Beautiful artwork. Amazing, stunningly painted cover, as well as the interiors, is Norm Breyfogle. Norm Breyfogle, First Comics. My point is, let's say this came out today. Let's say that said Image Comics. Everybody would be all about this book. They'd be like, yo, you get the gold font with Whisper, the gold font, and then look what I got. I got the lavender, the hidden store variant. And nobody would be talking about the contents. Nobody would be talking about this badass ninja-looking babe right here. Yeah, that's what I'm saying about a lot of these buys that people are making, myself included. And I think a lot of these alternate covers, these secret store variants, right there. Holla. Looking stunning covers. We got heads lining the wall. Dude with a machete. There's a predicament. Yo, if you're going to be walking around with a machine gun at night, be aware of your surroundings. That's all I'm saying. December 1987. Awesome cover. Next up, Shattered Earth, issue number 7, X-Mutants Universe Anthology. So it's the mix of writers and artists. And this particular cover, I just got it. Badass bitches on the cover. Badass babes. Shattered Earth 7, Jim Valentino cover out of June 1989. This ran for 9 issues altogether. Ho, next up, Aircell. That's right, Roland Mann. Roland Mann did the writing for these cat and mouse stories. Although a lot of the covers are done by the interior artist Mitch Bird, this particular issue has the cover by Steve Butler. Bad bitch right there. Badass babe on that cover. Thank you, Steve Butler. Last 2 issues of Cat and Mouse by the interior artist Mitch Bird. August and September 1991. Some Aircell goodness. This Elektra comic from like around 2003, I got this just because, I mean, so many hot covers that Greg Horn does for this book. And there were a few of these in the dollar bin, and I just like that combination of her costume, being all wet, that mixture of the water, and then the graffiti on the background. You got the Wu-Tang Clan symbol right there, and then just that mix of the foreign languages. Prohibido, Asian sign there, and just all of it. It's not even a newsstand. I looked online to see if there's any newsstands for sale, but there isn't. It's a spine tick. It's color breaking right there. Oh no. Greg Rucka's story. Joe Bennett interiors. Fucking badass babe. Cover right there for $1. Badass bitch for $1. Book 25. Book 26. This is by now Johi Manabe. All right, Yohi-san. Got these 2 comics from Dark Horse Comics. Collaboration looks like here with, what does that say there? Proteus? Studio Proteus? All right. Let's check out some of this artwork real quick. Yeah, it's out of 1991, these comics. I also want to, okay, all right. I was going to say, I want to show off here. Some of these have these cards, Rocketeer and Concrete. Cool. But, just want to show off a little bit of this. The back. Yeah, that's awesome. I haven't read this. It's just, wow. Exciting. Exciting. See what the cards are in here. We got here Nixon. That's from Jeff Darrow, Frank Miller's Hard Boiled. Wacky Squirrel, whatever. Check out that. All right, Explosion, real quick. Cool. Hurrah! Is this a thing? Hilt Action covers? Is this a collector's thing? I don't know. Let me know. Hilt Action. Saint Angel from Image. Except this Image is like way before the variant cover. Gimmick, craze, leverage, compensation for lack of actual spenders. This is written and drawn by Carl Altstetter. This is a hot issue 0 cover. It's ran for 4 issues, 1 through 4, and then there's your 0 issue. Free Comic Book Day, Alex Ross cover. Oh yeah, the dynamite. Christopher Priest is your writer. That's right. James Owsley, the same person that started the No Prize comic book, that one-shot book, essentially. I think it came out around 1980. Had Stan Lee on the cover upside down. Free Comic Book Day 2021, Alex Ross. Lovely Vampirella. Some Vampirella for your Alex Ross viewing pleasure. Shock therapy, shock therapy. 1986 December, cover date. Shock therapy, shock therapy. Shock therapy, shock therapy. Ah, yes, the good old days of shock therapy. I love it. I don't think this is what I'm referring to, though. I'm just kidding. All right, what do we got here? So let's check this out. Howard Priestley. Harrier Comics. I don't know much about this. Just thought it was really interesting. It's almost like, looks like woodcuts. You know, what was that guy's name? Those woodcuts, some of the early Sequential from like 130 years ago or something was real. Was real. All right. Whoa, hello. Fur Exchange. Here's the back of it, FYI. All right, next up from the dollar bin, got a couple more books. I want to keep the pace up. So I just want to show this off real quick. I've reviewed some of these Yummy Fur comic books. Originally, the writer, artist, Chester Brown, he had Yummy Fur in 7 issues as a mini comic. Then he got Vortex, the publisher, to print Yummy Fur. I think the first few issues reprinted his mini comic, and then it went up until I think 25. And then the remaining issues were printed, I think, until issue 35, drawn in quarterly. So if you see issue 27, drawn in quarterly, it's not a second volume. It's just a different publisher, drawn in quarterly, took over from Vortex. Yummy Fur. So you've got 2 different types of stories in here. Usually the second story is going to be a recreation from the Bible. Comic book to comic book adaptation. It's one of the things I love. I love historical settings, historical accuracy, books to comic book adaptations, historical fiction, historical settings, reenactments, so forth. So this is a interpretation from the Bible that Chester Brown does. He does the art and the writing. And then the first story can be kind of wacky, avant-garde, some of them. One of them is this guy, Kupafam, this kid. It's like a mixture of languages, a la George Harriman, Crazy Cat Creator. That's Kupafam. And then there's another story that is really bizarre. It's like this one scientist traveled to our dimension, but since they're smaller, came into our dimension, I guess got fused in with someone's dick. I don't know, some comedic metaphor, whatever. Obviously, there's some comedic undertones with that story. A little bizarre, I know. Then you got this other story that is autobiographical, like this one. And this is actually another badass babe here in a way, right? You know, this story, it's a coming-of-age story. Chester Brown, he's like, his mom's noting how he's getting older. He's like 13, 14. And, you know, it's this a charming story about how being an adolescent isn't always pain, suffering, and angst. There's some really charming moments, and he's flirting with this girl, and I guess you could say there's a lot of Freudian connotations, kind of like how you still kind of act like a kid when you're that age, but then there's some undertones and some things you do that aren't exactly innocent. You might not even notice it at the time. And he's really just flirting with this girl. They were fighting, he was fighting her friend, but they were just play wrestling, but she really likes him and he likes her, and they were hanging out later by the end of the story, and they hooked up, so to speak. But it's a charming story. It's done really well. I dig it. Chester Brown. Yummy fur. Check it out. Last dollar book. This lasted for 3 issues, 60, 61, and 62. This is from March 1992, and the artist is Val Merrick. So Val Merrick stayed on, but I think they changed the writer. It was a Mike Barron plot, and then Mark McLaurin came in, did the script. They had to change things up because this is a 3-issue story arc where the Punisher becomes black. Why they decided to do that, how they got away with it, I mean, they kind of didn't get away with it because they had to change the writers up and shut this story down by the beginning of issue 62, and the Punisher became white again. When the Punisher became white again in issue 62. Wow. Guest appearance, Luke Cage. Just want to switch gears real quick. Dark Horse Presents. All right, so we know that in my earlier vids, I'm referencing the lecture that I gave on Aliens vs. Predator comics, and then the previous video, the Aliens comics from Dark Horse. Whoop whoop. Issue 34 and 35 are the first 2 parts of this Dark Horse Presents story arc that culminates with Aliens vs. Predator. That's right, Dark Horse Comics has the license up until 2020 for Aliens, the Xenomorphs, and for Predator. Predator movie came out, I think, 1997. The second one came out in 1990. When the Aliens vs. Predator 4-issue limited series came out. So leading up to that limited series, February 1990, now the third part, you've got the franchises from 20th Century Fox, Aliens and Predator meeting. The hunt begins. This idea was formulated by Chris Warner, who did the A covers. There really was only one cover for these Dark Horse Presents series, done by the writer, editor over at Dark Horse, artist Chris Warner. He came up with the idea to combine the 2 franchises. This story is written and drawn by Phil Norwood is the artist. It's written by Randy Stradley. And then the Aliens vs. Predator 4-issue limited series that came out the following summer in 1990, because this is February 1990. You've got the 4-issue limited series, and then Chris Warner does the interiors for issue 4, with Dave Dorman doing the cover for issue 4 of AVP in 1990. My point is that this painting here by Dave Dorman, I've collected the, reprints of it, so to speak. I've got 4 right here. All right, so here's your easy one to start off with, the Dave Dorman painting that is on the back of issue 36 that had only 1 B cover for the first appearance of Aliens vs. Predator, and that's this painting by Dave Dorman. Toxic, issue number 7, out of the United Kingdom. This large format weekly comic book from 1991 only ran for 31 issues. One of the co-founders is the same co-founder of 2000 AD out of 1977. Pat Mills co-founded this in 1991. Like I said, it's a weekly anthology. This is Macabre on the cover, first appearance. This is my only copy. I've shown this off in a previous haul like a year ago. The point is I'm looking for reprints of the Dave Dorman Aliens vs. Predator painting. And that is in here, right there. There you go. Issue 7 of Toxic. On the cover, you had Macabre, the story about him taking out the Church of Jesus Cool in May 1991. So this company went out of business, Toxic. But I just wanted to point out this Dave Dorman painting reprint. Aliens vs. Predators, the epic struggle of evil against evil, every month in Aliens. This is actually published by Apocalypse. This Pat Mills co-published Toxic comic book. Martial law creator Pat Mills. Also out of the United Kingdom, We have Aliens, May 1991 and September 1991. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Dave Dorman cover right here. One thing to note is that this reprints issue 36. So in the original black and white, there's the seeding vessel arriving, right? That we had thought that we had seen the same seeding vessel in issue 34 of Dark Horse Presents, but it turns out that particular seeding vessel, the one where the Queen had knocked the robotic arm off its calibration when it was going to grab the ovomorph that contained a Queen facehugger. Yeah, that was in issue 34 of Dark Horse Presents. Issue 36 is being reprinted right here. That's what you're looking at. And this is where now you have the Yautja, the Predators. There's Top Knot right there, leading his clan, his group right there. Top Knot is first appearances in Dark Horse Presents 35. He's not in. Now we're looking at the beginning of issue number 1. Also by Randy Stradley and Phil Norwood. Randy Stradley wrote all of the Machiko Noguchi. This is their first appearance now. They're reprinting Aliens vs. Predator issue 1. All the Machiko Noguchi stories are written by Randy Stradley, but artists kind of change up. Like I said, Phil Norwood does the art for Dark Horse Presents, the 3-issue story arcs that leads into the first appearance of Aliens vs. Predator. And then Phil Norwood does the art for the first 3 issues of Aliens vs. Predator out of 1990. Chris Warner does the interior art for that 4th issue, like I said. And then we have the reprint now, the back of issue 36. We got the reprint in Toxic issue 7. And the cover of Aliens, May 1991 in the United Kingdom. That's right. Let's not forget this 4th example. Free poster inside. Check it out. Yeah, there's Deshande. He's the one that ends up blooding Machiko Noguchi. That was his last dying act in issue 4. But the poster I'm referring to is this insert right there. Right there. Pretty badass. On sale every month from Trident Comics. So I don't know if Dark Horse owns Trident or if they were the initial publisher and then it went over to Dark Horse. I know at one point Dark Horse did have its United Kingdom branch of an Aliens anthology. It all got shut down by 94. Right, so there's your Dave Dorman Aliens posters. AVP, first appearance, V cover, reprints for ya. This big old stack left. Comic books mainly bought over at Vision Comics and Oddities and at New Shop that's on Colfax. City Records, Comics, and Toys. It's closer to downtown on Colfax. Check it out, City Records. Something that they had. Young Terrorists out of 2015. They only ran for 2 issues. Black Mask. Check this out. This is written by Pizzolo. It has this book that I thought was going to come out around 2017 called Billionaire Killers. And it's kind of along the same vein as this, except these Billionaire Killers is supposed to be more like Ivy League elitists taking on their parents, I think, grandparents. Billionaire Killers was supposed to have Alexis Zarit doing the covers, at least the B covers. I emailed the guy, the writer of this, Matt Pizzolo. Matt Pizzolo hit me back, said Billionaire Killers was on its way. Alexis Zarit had the artwork lined up for some covers. If you look at my Instagram, over at my Instagram, you'll see those Alexis Zarit Billionaire Killer covers. Pretty fucking dope. Anyway, a few years earlier, Young Terrorists came out. Check out the premise. The daughter of an assassinated globalist kingpin breaks out of an internment camp and leads her fellow escaped prisoners in a battle against an elitist conspiracy of shadow governments, mega banks, and military juntas in this edgy and subversive sci-fi thriller. Lots of covers with this young terrorist. This one happens to be the BAM Second and Charles cover. Electra Assassin, issue number 1 of 8. That's right, written by Frank Millimilla. Art by Bill Sienkiewicz. So, how bad is this? There was like a, what do you call it, a sun shadow, when there's like this yellowing along the top there. Let's just check it out. It's pretty decent shape. This is out of August 1986. Check out that Bill Sienkiewicz artwork. Silver Surfer issue 2, newsstand. That's right, 2-issue limited series. This is out of January 1989, and I just got it for the timeless novelty of a story written by Stan Lee with art by Mobius. Hey, check out that Denzel Washington Crimson Tide clip that I got as part of my little repertoire videos about comparing Jack Kirby and Mobius's Silver Surfer. That's right. It's all laid out by Denzel. So Neil Gaiman in the 90s had 2 3-issue limited series about death. Here's issue 1. Chris Bacalo did the interior art. It's issue 2. Every 100 years, Nightmare's big sister, Death, has a mortal day for 24 hours. So now, see how this is. Mark Buckingham doing the inks. Death, the High Cost of Living. This is out of 1993. So 3 years later, you have Death, the Time of Your Life. Mark Buckingham is not doing the inks in that one. He's doing the pencils. So, just so you know, that's in 1996. These 3 morose covers are by Dave McKean covers out of 1993. These are in great shape, except I will admit, where is that? Yeah, I can feel it right there. There's a slight spine crease right there. Not bad though, for what, $3 a piece? No, those 2 are 3. First issue here, they gouged me. Another $2 at 5. Now, I love that serendipity of collecting. I know in a previous haul just recently, I showed off the Crow Dead Time issue number 1. This is out of 1996. I love it how, like, when you find, you know, issue number 1, 3-issue limited series, and then within a day, 2 days, maybe even the same day, you find the remaining issues in the same condition as that other issue that you wanted, right? So this is over at City Records, Comics and Toys on Colfax, downtown Denver, and just look at the condition of this. Got to show it off, because that Crow Dead Time comic that I showed in just a recent haul wasn't just as nice shape as this. Nice slick black border. I know this had a high print run, but still, nonetheless. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So James O'Barr did the covers for limited series. They came out in 1996 from Kitchen Sink Press. The interior artwork are both of the limited series. It's done by Alexander Maleev. And Dead Time is the first one. I think in 2013, that is the next time you're going to see James O'Barr writing The Crow and also doing artwork, which for Skinning the Wolves. That 3-issue limited series, James O'Barr did the covers and he wrote the story in 2013. And then the next, I think the only other time James O'Barr did simultaneously comic books with him writing The Crow and artwork would have to be the original Crow series. What is that? You got the Crow's first full appearance on the back of Dead World 10. I think it's around December 88. And then January of 89 is Caliber Presents issue number 1, I believe. February of 89 would be the first issue of The Crow, that 4-issue limited series. So Caliber Presents number 1, like the prologue to the 4-issue limited series of The Crow. That Caliber Presents first issue, which is like the first comic book appearance of The Crow, is covered date January 1989. So then you got Caliber's 4-issue limited series of The Crow, right? The first issue is February 1989. And then Tundra Press in 1992 has a 3-issue Crow limited series. The first 2 issues are reprints of the 4-issue Caliber Crow limited series that James O'Barr did the cover, the interior artwork, and he wrote, right? He invented the Crow. That's his baby. The 5th issue to that series is in the 3rd volume of Tundra Press's The Crow, the final volume, called Death. James O'Barr does the covers for some Crow limited series, like by IDW and Kitchen Sink Comics. Kitchen Sink was actually the first one to compile all of those Crow comics, the 4-issue limited series, the 5th issue from Tundra, all of that in their first time The Crow was compiled together as a trade paperback and hardcover. That was the Kitchen Sink Press, which also has some added material as well. That's the last time James O'Barr did artwork and writing for The Crow, was that original series. And then you got 2013, Skinning the Wolves. In between that, it's just covers, people. 1996, you got 2 Crow limited series, Dead Time and Flesh and Blood. Both of them ran for 3 issues, like I said, with James O'Barr doing the covers. Finding them in this nice, slick, black spine condition. For me, $5, no complaints. Flesh and Blood, that's the second one in the latter half of 96. Also in 96, you know, Fumetti was kind of big in the 90s. I think I showed off a werewolf comic. Had some Fumetti in it. Just wanted to show this off. The covers on these are really dope. Really enjoyed them. I think it's like 6 issues. At the end here, they advertised the 2nd issue. That's not what the cover looks like. It's way cooler than that. Got this for the cover. It's nice condition, but not too into Fumetti. It's kind of hit or miss with me. Thought it looked cool though. It's all right. Not in a rush to read this. Just thought that cover looked really sweet though. All of them for Waste LA are pretty fucking cool looking. Books of Lore. First print out of September 1997. I had shown off, I think like last year, the autographed copy of this, which has the entire painted image here, taking up the entire cover. This cover painting is by the Doc one, Greg Williams. I showed off some of those Animal Mystic and Chlor comics from my last haul. Right there, cover painting by Dark One, who is Greg Williams. He's got comics under the Sirius publishing label. That's in collaboration with J. Michael Linsner's company, Sirius. Anyway, not sure about Peregrine Entertainment here, who works with that. But some great artwork found. Special edition 1997 fantasy comic book. Some really great artwork. black and white beauty right here. The Max. 5 years after the Max was published, we got this 3D reprint of the first issue in 1998. Does it have the 3D glasses? A nice slick black condition, digging it. Some of that 3D effect. You can see that. Okay, so here are the glasses. It's complete. So this is Mystic Funnies, written and drawn by R. Crumb. This is published by Fantagraphics. April 2001 cover date, but the original printing is actually by Last Gasp, a lot later than you would assume. Right, 'cause it's from 1997 was the first printing. It's the second printing here. A little bit of R. Crumb there to sample for you. Star Wars Tales issue 11. This is my third copy. I've got another one that's a nice shape like this. This is at least VF. Got another one. It's got like a crease there and there. So this is just great. I mean, I'm glad to have this because, yeah, it's got some stories by Garth Ennis, art by Dursama, who's known to do those Avatar comics, some Star Wars comics, Kiyoshimi as well. But I mean, you got the face of Star Wars. Sure, Mark Hamill's reputation totally improved in the past 20 years. I remember in the 1990s, I saw interviews with Mark Hamill pushing this comic book that he had, but it was like he was just really amped up, and it's kind of off-putting the way he was coming across trying to promote it. He was like coming in at 120 miles an hour for somebody who was trying to promote comics to crowds that probably really weren't asking for his opinion about him. So, the face of Star Wars, Harrison Ford. If you look at a lot of my comic book hauls, there are some niches that I've delved into, like Aliens, Aliens vs. Predator, some Copper Age goodness, like that Roger Stern run with the Avengers. But typically the stuff that I buy, I like to keep an eye out for stuff that's timeless, classic, iconic, things that will stand the test of time to a certain extent for particular genres. I get really specific and niche-y at times, but I think overall, iconic, classic stuff like this, I think will stand the test of time, especially in a newsstand. I think I'll have trouble getting rid of this in the future. So, Harrison Ford, photo cover. Check it out, newsstand. That's right. Marvel Tales, issue number 11. Early 2000s, I guess. Free Comic Book Day, another classic, iconic image right here, another Disney character. I'm not a huge Disney fan, definitely not a modern Disney fan, but just, you know, I've got a Mickey Mouse Free Comic Book Day. I've got a Free Comic Book Day with like Mickey and Robin Hood together. And now this is another Free Comic Book Day comic that, you know, these FCBD books have some really great classic images that I think are also kind of some timeless potential. A lot of these, not all of the Free Comic Book Day books, but, you know, we got a really solid image here of Donald Duck and his three nephews. It's a little bit of a niche here, going the Indian route, Maharaj Donald, but hey, India, it's going to be the #1 market, right? So there you go, Donald Duck Adventures. This is a reprint from 1947, March of Comics, issue number 4 by Carl Banks. Free Comic Book Day comic out of 2003, by the way. Also out of 2003, Batman, issue number 614. Really pricey, damn, $10. It's a newsstand. So I got this not because I'm a fan of Loeb. I'm not really a fan of Loeb. I'm not really much of a fan of Jim Lee, but when I saw this image of Jim Lee's Batman trying to kill off the Joker, it looks like right there, yeah, found that definitely to be a classic Batman Joker cover. With Lee doing the artwork along that, what's the word, timeless, classic vein of cover collecting. Bulletproof Coffin had 2 6-issue limited series. One that came out in 2010, and then a couple years later in 2012, you got this one right here, Bulletproof Coffin Disinterred. Shaky Kane did the art, cover, and interior. David Hine co-plotted, wrote the book. $4. I showed that treasury-sized edition of Cain and Abel. That's what inspired me to get this. Caught my eye seeing that name, Shaky Kane. Let's go back in time. Buckaroo Banzai. Issue number 1, 2-issue limited series. You know, I've pretty much got everything on my bucket list except for a few issues. I'm good with my comic book collecting. This was one of the books that, in this third era of my comic book collecting, this was one of the books that I was like, you know, it'd be nice to get. It'd be nice to get that Buckaroo Banzai issue in newsstand, because it's just a movie I grew up with. It's just this wacky version of G.I. Joe in a way was Buckaroo Banzai. One of the interesting things about this comic book, Buckaroo Banzai, December 1984 cover date, by the way, is that there was technology in here. I remember my dad is an automotive engineer. He was psyched to see this movie because he read something about, like in Car and Driver or Popular Mechanics, something about the suspension system that was used in these vehicles, that was referenced, about how you can just hold like a cup of coffee in your armrest going over rough terrain. It won't even spill it. I don't know. Some suspension advancements in technology. Feature of this film, I think. It's what I remember being told when we were on our way to see this movie. Me and my dad. Buckaroo Banzai. This guy, Peter Weller, you might know him from RoboCop, of course, but I recommend, it's like a multi-disc set. It's at least 4 discs from History Channel called Engineering and Empire that this son of a bitch was lucky enough to host. He references how he ended up getting, I think, his master's in art history, at least a master's in art history. So it allowed him to get his foot in the door to host that series, but he got to go all over the world to discuss every single architectural major engineering achievement known to man. Pretty much. Check it out. Love that documentary. To be able to have hosted that documentary, being able to travel the world, to talk about all of those historical landmarks, the history of man, is a pretty goddamn fortunate thing to have occurred to Mr. Peter Weller. Peter Weller. Buckaroo Banzai. Hell of a documentary, Engineering and Empire. Check it out. Buckaroo Banzai. Hell, they should make a History Channel Engineering and Empire set of comics hosted by a Peter Weller. Now, First Comics did have a series called Warp. Ended in 1985 after 19 issues, but there were these 3 or 4 issues. I think it was 3. Warp Special. This is the first one. Chaos, Prince of Madness. Howard Chaykin cover. I'm digging that Howard Chaykin artwork right there. He did the cover and the interiors of this Warp Special comic. This particular comic, written by Peter B. Gills, art by Howard Chaykin, like I said, published by First Comics, is the first appearance of this area. It's called Cynosure. I'm not pronouncing it right. My apologies. It is the center of the multiverse. The center of where business is done. It's like where everybody bumps elbows, traveling dimensions, I guess. Cynosure. That's the setting for John Ostrander's comic book, Grimjack. There's this covert organization that exists to protect the Cynosure, whatever, that area that is the center of the multiverse. You want to know about that? Check out Grimjack by John Ostrander. Oh yeah, fuck yeah, I'll get a lap dance from you. Greg Horn cover. I'm a sucker for an Electra in all black, amongst other colors. Brian Michael Bendis story. Chuck Austin interiors. I don't even care if that's a newsstand or not. Elektra, issue number 5. Beautiful killer. Raised by assassins. Even if this was the Phil Noto cover, I still would have got it. I think all of these covers right here have this like newsstand looking deal from what I've looked up. So I don't think this is really a newsstand. I don't think so. Maybe it is. Adam Hughes cover. Jimmy Palmiotti's story. Beautiful killer. Adam Hughes cover. Ben Dunn. Covers. Interiors. Story. That's right. He's the creator of Warrior Nun, Ariella. This is a reprint of her first appearance. This is the second printing. If this did not say March 1995, if that said, I'm not sure the month, but there's only one. It's 1994. If you saw 1994, that would be Warrior Nun, Ariella's first appearance. Ben Dunn. All right, now this particular cover is by Joseph White. Got that Warrior Nun ass going on. Black and white. Written by Antarctic Press Editor-in-Chief Herb Mallet. This ran for 21 issues. 1997. Here's some 1996 goodness. That's a Mike Grell cover. Yo, dig that. Spawn the Impaler. 1996 October cover date. This comic right here, this is a one-shot anthology with the cover and interior art and stories. They're all by Jason Paulos. So that's right. Halloween one-shot out of 2021 from Asylum Press. She's pretty comfortable there. She feeling that guy's horn right there? She feeling that horny? Huh. All right then. Looks like you got something winged flying in the background right there. Very cool. All right, let's wrap this up. A couple more comics. Public service announcement. See this cover right here. Cover art and interiors and story brought to you by Richard Corbin out of Dark Horse Comics. Rat God. It's issue number 1 of 5. How fucking cool is that? 2015. So now, even if they ask you to come around the corner and say hi for a minute, don't mean you got to do it. They ask you to get in their car, don't mean you got to do it. But hey, ugly people are people too. All right, remember that. There you go. Dark Horse presents issue 48. Now, why did I buy this? What is the significance with this? David Patrick Kelly from the movie Warriors playing the villain Luther, I think? Yeah, he put it best. No reason. Total randomness right here. What did I get? Huh? Yeah. Aliens. Fucking total random. No interest in getting any of these cards. Is that card 1 and 3? The Aliens card right there. Drawing by Art Adams. Nice. That's right. Happy Christmas to me. And to all of you viewers, to all of you collectors of our sequential hood. Thank you. Thank you for visiting. Thank you for for watching. Thank you for taking part in a comic book haul 69, part 25. Peace.